I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
I'm not even supposed to be here today! Oh, fuck you!
Come on, you want me to drive? You're supposed to be suicidal. Remember, I'll
Anybody
drive.
a drive?
Get in the car. Fuck me in the ass. Fuck you, you stupid cunt.
You can talk about always when you remake a movie. That's one thing. You take the same plot of the original for your remake. One thing. But when you suddenly decide to change the kind of genre you're doing and just call it the title of the original because you know you'll pay to go see the movie. No, that's not one thing. That's false advertising. And I say that because, I don't know, this is the same plot as the movie it's remaking? Yes. It takes elements from that movie? Yes. Is it about karate? No. Yeah, it's Donji Corleone here. I'm here with a brand new rant, and this rant is going to be for 2010's The Kung Fu Kid. Oh, no, wait, why did I say that? Did I say Kung Fu? I mean the 2010 Karate Kid remake. Kung Fu Kid's a better fucking title because this ain't even about karate. It's the same movie, but it's not even about karate. Karate and Kung Fu are not the same thing. But the only reason it's called karate was so they could make money. Because if it was called Kung Fu Kid, nobody would go watch it. And back then, remakes always made money. Back when this came out. But yeah. Well, it was one of the last stages when they were making money, that is. Because the year after this, that trend was starting to die out, and then they were warming up to the trend for re-sequels, or legacy sequels, that was. But anyway, what is the plot of the the Karate Kid remake? Well, it's same exact plot as the original 1984 movie, obviously, because it's a remake, still. Where this time around, it's about a 12-year-old Detroit kid named Dre Parker, played by Jaden Smith, who cannot act for shit. I'll more on that later. He's moving to Beijing and finds himself this fish out of water, yeah, like the original, befriends a fellow classmate, but then makes a rival named Chen, who might as well just be Discount Johnny from the original, who was much more interesting of a character than Chen in this was. Mai Ying might as well be Discount Ali, who was even more interesting than this character was, and had a better developed relationship with like Daniel, who Dre might as well just be Daniel from the original movie, the Discount version. So Discount Johnny starts to bully and attack Discount Daniel, like the original movie. And Mr. Han, who was pretty much just a Kung Fu version of Miyagi, the maintenance man of Dre's apartment. He fends off Chen and his friends when they're attacking Dre one day, when it's pretty much just rehashing the whole the Halloween beating, the Halloween party beating right there. And then signs Dre to fight in the Kung Fu tournaments because this is just Kung Fu, in return for the bullying to be laid off of Dre. So Dre realizes that Han's much more than a maintenance man, and it turns out to be a master of Kung Fu, and Dre learns that Kung Fu is about self-defense and peace, and not violence and bloodshed. So yeah. So as for my reaction, now, okay, fine. Maybe it's not as bad as 3 or 4, but I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Why is this called Karate Kid? It's just about Kung Fu, and it should be called the Kung Fu Kid. They only wanted to call it Karate Kid was because they wanted it to make money. Because they knew if it called the Kung Fu Kid, they'd be like, wait, what? Why is this ripping off the title of the Karate Kid? Let's not go watch that. So they called it the Karate Kid, and they just remade the same exact movie again. Except with Kung Fu this time. And they called it the Karate Kid because they knew people would immediately line up to go see it. That's why. It's pretty much... And it's still a rip-off of the original movie, but you know the original movie that had such great stuff? Well, this movie now, it's the same movie, but it's lifeless. And it's over 2 hours long. The original was about the simple 100-minute mark. Like, simple as that. This movie's like 140 minutes. And it does not need to be. And now it's set in Beijing, and you have an evil kung fu class that might as well be called Cobra fucking Kai. Because they're basically Cobra Kai, the Beijing version of them. But how was this made? Well, a remake of The Karate Kid had entered development in late 2008. And around the time of the new film, it would be produced by Will Smith. And it launched pretty much a starring role for his son that apparently must have thought it was because Pursuit of Happiness was a huge success because the two starred in that together, decided that his son was perfect to star in movies. And no. And of course it was going to borrow elements from the original plot. Yeah, obviously, because you can't, well, if you're remake, they basically got to do that if you're just remaking the movie. So, despite the original title, like, it's not about karate. Which is from Japan, so if you're a karate movie, if you want to go to a more Chinese area, why not just be set in Okinawa? You know, where karate takes place. Why not just be set in Japan, not Beijing? Right there. Wouldn't you think Japan would make more sense? And then be able to include karate and have a reason to be called a karate remake? But yeah, and then filming the film, which was an international production between China, Hong Kong, and the United States, that took place in Beijing and then began in July 2009, ended on October 16th. The late James Horner, may he rest in peace, composed the score, and so after the film was officially shot and advertised, the Karate Kid, or the Kung Fu Kid, or the Karate Kid, whatever the fuck, was released worldwide on June 11th, 2010, and yeah, like I said, they called it that to make money. Guess what? It made money. It got $359 million worldwide on a $40 million budget. And is the highest grossing film of the series. And I think they were going to make sequels, but they decided, nah, fuck that. Let's not do any sequels. Instead, we got the Cobra Kai show. I know that's popular, but it just doesn't have my appeal. And then, of course, you're getting that Legends film, which I'm doing these sequels so I can go watch that because of the films I picked between either the Stitch remake or Legends. 59% more than the Stitch remake actually wanted me to go watch Legends. So, Legends, so yeah, we'll be doing Legends. That's why we're doing this whole series now. So yeah, it did serve as originally, before Legends had came out and confirmed that it was actually another film set in the same universe, it originally just served as a loose remake of the original film and a different continuity, but following a civil narrative, and the setting moved to China, and martial art changed to Kung Fu. Then, of course, though, Karate Kid Legends confirmed it was the same exact universe as the original films. Now, first up, here's the first thing that I'm now going to mention that I had mentioned earlier in the casting. But I can agree with everybody on. Will's son, Jaden Smith, Pursuit of Happiness was a huge hit. That starred his son and him together. And their both performances and their chemistry got praise. But just because of that, that should not have automatically meant that his son could be able to act in movies. Because let me tell you, almost every other movie Jaden Smith acted in, all of them fucking suck. All of them. Including this movie. And this one may not be as bad as the two I'm about to mention, but even if he couldn't act in this film either. Now, Pursuit of Happiness was the one exception. Was the only one that worked, but there's a reason why it's called the only one that worked. Because after this, he starred with Keanu Reeves and Jennifer Connelly in The Day the Earth Stood Still remake, panned by critics. Then of course reunited with his dad again in After Earth, bombed and panned. This film may not have been as badly received as those movies, but it may have made money, but it was never remembered ever again. When it left theaters, nobody ever talked about it. Unlike the original that gets loved and talked about to this day, this one goes forgotten about immediately when it left theaters. They never remembered it ever again. And After Earth, that was the last straw. And ever since then, he's gone on to do rap. Like, I don't hear a single rap single of his on the radio either. Really a lot. So, that explains a lot. Yeah, like, the only reason he acted in movies was because of Pursuit of Happiness. But there's a reason why it worked. Because, one, it made Will's character's chemistry with his son actually heartfelt and believable. And that way you felt the connection between them. That's why his performance in that film and casting in that film worked. That did not mean he needed an acting career. And this one, like, this is basically just his discount version of Daniel. It's just now trying too hard to be funny or too hard to be serious, and it doesn't even seem natural. Because this version of him is no Ralph Macchio at all. And of course, like, Jackie Chan did fine right there, and that's about it though. And also the plot, it's the plot of the original film, but this time it's the plot of the original film sucked. Because in the original film, it was high schoolers fighting. So at least there was that, right? Because they were high schoolers. This one, it's middle schoolers. And China, sometimes Kung Fu is well known in China, but seriously? Come on, like, you don't need to go that crazy with the Kung Fu. Now, in the scene when Dre's running away from the discount wannabe Johnny Gain, that's not that bad, but really, of course, and also because the original had a romance subplot between Daniel and Ali, let's have another romance subplot here, where Dre and this Chinese girl that's pretty much just discount Ali really does not work at all, because for one, these two are supposed to be 12-year-olds, and their chemistry, like, she doesn't even appear most of the film anyway, so it's just not believable. Johnny Ali's romance, that's believable and better right there, and they actually felt perfect for each other until the sequels retcon that, but you know what I'm talking about. And of course, like, scenes like Dre drinking from the dragon water, what is that supposed to do? Really nothing. And you never know why or Discount Miyagi is reluctant to teach Discount Daniel at first, but they never really developed that much true story. Like, you find out that he got his accent that kills wife and kid, and that really doesn't have much to do with anything at all. And, like, and there was just nothing special about this at all. Like, there's not one performance that really made me give a damn about the story or the characters. Like, the characters weren't anything memorable like Daniel and Miyagi were. Like in the original film, Daniel and Miyagi were well developed. You actually cared about them. And of course, Johnny and his cronies, like, even they had more personality than these discounts did. Like they had some flawed traits about them. Yeah, they were somewhat hateable. They did some hateable stuff in the original movie. Don't get me wrong. They were still kind of assholes, but they had some flawed, like, once you see more scenes of them, you see that they're kind of flawed. They're actually more flawed characters in a way. And plus, to be fair, they're basically being raised under a monstrous instructor. This happens again here, except these guys don't have any. These discount wannabe versions of them don't have any life put into their performances. They have the same facial expression, like, most of the time, like, to the point where they basically clearly seem like they worship their abusive instructor. And there's just too much stuff rushed, and Taraji as Dre's mom honestly just came off as over the top. And sometimes even felt like she really just did not like her son. Well, to be fair, her son is somewhat a bit of a prick. Which I will get to that. There's one bit I'll get to that a little later. So how do we start off? Well, it's the same star as the original. Dre Parker and his mom are moving to Detroit, from Detroit to Beijing. Whereas in the original, Daniel and his mom were moving from New Jersey to Los Angeles. Because she got a job transfer at a car factory. Then once they get there, Dre meets our discount Allie, Mei Wing, and then immediately starts to have feelings for her. That Chen, our discount Johnny, whose family's close to Mei Ying's, keeps them apart by constantly attacking, teasing, and antagonizing Dre, because that's in the original movie. That happens throughout. Like, instead of their first beating scene happening at a beach, like in the original, it happens in a park. And instead of their next encounter happening at a soccer field, it happens in the school cafeteria. And instead of like them making Daniel, like in the original when they made Daniel fall off his bike and roll down the hill, this time around they just take his backpack and dump it out. Which is honestly not that impactful as the bike is. So, eventually during a field trip one day, which might as well just be a repeat of the Halloween party scene, because it's basically almost the same exact scene again, except this time it's on a field trip and they're not wearing skeleton costumes. Dre throws a bucket of dirty water over Chen and his gang, and so they chase and they brutally beat Dre because they're just repeating that again. And then Han, the maintenance man, who's our Miyagi in this version, he intervenes and he fends off the bullies, and he turns out to be a kung fu master, because remember, this is not about karate, it's about kung fu instead. And that's pretty much where it kicks off, like how the original kicked off. Like, sometimes it's hard to have the cohesiveness and chemistry if your characters are not even well developed, or just, even if they're playing the same exact versions of them with no development. Yeah, it's a remake of the same movie. And yeah, I know that, like, it's almost some of the same exact dialogue, even, same scenarios, except you just change the country, you just change the sport they're learning, and just a reimagined film that doesn't really do anything. Hell, in fact, it's not even a remake anymore, because Legends pretty much now confirms this is set in the same exact timeline as the other movies. So, yeah, there's just even further no point of even remaking the film anymore by this rate. And they don't even build the characters. Dre's mom does nothing much except just there because Dre needs a parent. And does really not much to the role. Like, even Daniel's mom in the original did way more to the role. And definitely had much better mom and son chemistry with Daniel in the original than in this movie at all. And of course, we like how they moved from New Jersey to Los Angeles in the original film. Like, you know, Daniel's mom was working at a computer place, and then the Orient restaurant. Right there. And of course, and also knew Miyagi did a few things before befriending Daniel. Right there. And of course, like, knew a little more about Mr. Miyagi. So, the original here, our discount Lucille just magically just lets discount Daniel do kung fu with our discount Miyagi without much knowledge of him. Hell, like, when it comes to Chen, who's pretty much just discount Johnny with no character development. Hell, even Johnny, despite technically being somewhat of a more antagonist in the original, even if he was an antagonist in the original that had some development. At the very end when he lost the fight, when he gave Daniel the trophy, at least that was earned. And more on that later though, but let's keep going on with the review. Like, most of the stuff they do in the original, they do it here, except the original was done brilliantly. This, no. It's just there because they just need to repeat it again because they need to know that it's still a remake. Do you even know how the bully in this remake was, or much of his background here, or apart from just being connected to a family of the discount alley in this? No. Like, the Kung Fu, or the Karate 2010 kid, it's just a bland reworking of the same movie. The first one had all the heart, and this one's just attitude and not much else. Like, honestly, and this one here, this version, I honestly kind of cheering for the bullies a little more than Jaden's character. Because honestly, there's times when Dre just came off as kind of worse. Because most of the time he often provoked them, and pretty much brought himself a lot of the beatings in this version. So it was kind of really hard to sympathize with Dre in this version, and like, heck, there's even this annoying gag where he'll throw his jacket on the floor, his mom gets all mad about it, and he'll groan in annoyance. I don't remember Daniel doing any of that in the original movie. No. Especially would not ever do that. The original Daniel would definitely not throw his things on the floor and groan if he ever had to pick them up. Like, in this film, like, seriously, why this film couldn't be set in Japan? Like, this is supposed to be about karate. How about, and that Japan is where karate happens. Why not just be set there if you're gonna go to a more foreign place? Go to Japan if you're gonna do that. So, after Han rescues Dre, he heals Dre's injuries using these medicine methods of fire cubing, and he explains that Chen and his friends are not really bad, but they're taught to be merciless by their teacher, even though we really know nothing much about them. Or just need to repeat, because they gotta repeat the teacher Kreese again. The Master Lee, who's pretty much our discount John Kreese. So, Dre asks Han to teach him Kung Fu, and so Han accompanies him to Lee's Fine Dragons, which, oh wait, this should be discount Cobra Kai because it's literally the same fucking place as Cobra Kai to make peace. Lee rebuffs the offer, or discount Kreese rebuffs the offer, but challenges Dre to fight Chen. And so, Han counters that Dre has to compete against all Lee's students at the upcoming Kung Fu tournament, and they have to let Dre train in peace until then, and Lee accepts, and if Dre doesn't show up, that pain's going to be inflicted on both of them. So, Han teaches Dre Kung Fu instead of karate, by movements that apply to life in general, and of course, because apparently serenity and maturity are the keys to mastering Kung Fu. So, like, right there, because Han was observing, like, Dre's argument with his mother about the whole jacket that just repeats to fucking death. He has, like, Dre repeatedly take off and pick up his jacket to develop muscle memory, and eventually, like, it's almost just repeating the same thing as the original here, and you remember the original when Daniel had to paint the house, or wax on and wax off the whole deck, or paint the fence, or wash the car? That's how Miyagi learned his karate from all those chores, and eventually Daniel got frustrated and annoyed with those chores, but then eventually and that frustration is how he started to finally learn that karate fight skills. Here, this whole jacket thing, this doesn't feel like something you'd learn Kung Fu or muscle memory from. Then Han takes him to this temple where Dre drinks the dragon water from a well, witnesses a woman make a cobra, reflect their movements, and he's like, I want to know the cobra stuff. The cobra stuff comes with a life technique. And so then more weeks of training, then Han gives Dre a day off, and so Dre decides, like, they're just repeating the whole date scene to the arcade in the original film, except honestly though, unlike when Daniel's mom actually drove the both of them to that place. Right there, and that happened during the nighttime and not during the school day time. Here, Dre basically pretty much persuades this Mei Ying to cut class and play hooky with him. So they run around Beijing, go to this brief arcade for a little bit, and then of course she gets her recital because, I forgot to mention, she is doing this whole music class thing. But then Main's parents find out about this, and so they deem Dre a bad influence, and tell Main that they need to stop being friends. Yeah, so that's not a shock. I mean, I'm not shocked that Main's parents clearly don't approve him in this version. Because here's the thing. If you meet a friend that tells you to cut school, to go goof off in town, that definitely seems like a fucking bad influence. If a friend told you to cut class, I would not stay friends with them. That is definitely bad influencing bad behavior. Like, I'm surprised they never touch up on Dre cutting class either. Like, when this date scene happened in the original, this happened at night. When there was no school. It happened during their Daniel and Allie's date in the original happened during the nighttime. Right there, and they didn't cut class to do that stuff. Like, so yeah, you have a bunch of plot holes that exist on their own, and Studio just wants to build a film around them. Like, you never know, like, what really... Unlike in the original, where you know, kind of know definitely why Daniel and his mom moved to LA, here, you never know what really inspires his mom to go to China. Like, not much, except for one part where she's just mentioning when Dre just whines about wanting to go back home, that there's nothing left for them in Detroit. And you never really see her job either, unlike in the original where you actually got to see Daniel's mom's job. And her working 2 jobs. You at least saw her at work. You don't see her at work in this version. So yeah, and like, but more about Dre, like, yeah, I mentioned more about Dre, like, unlike, Dre's pretty much if Daniel came off as a brat, and Lucille came off as too much of a naggy mom. Yeah, but, so, and of course, they try some sly comedy too, and it just does not work at all. Like, I mean, Jackie Chan doesn't do bad as the mentor, but you don't know much about his character, and his character isn't as interesting as someone like Miyagi was. And Taraji just comes off as too over the top a lot of times, and it gets annoying after a while. And you don't have cool stuff like wax on or wax off. You just have pick up your jacket, throw on the floor. Pick up your jacket, throw on the floor. And of course, like, you have the whole fly chopstick scene, except how Han catches the fly. He just uses a fly swatter anyway, and then picks up the dead fly with his chopsticks. Like, what happened to the whole, you catch a fly with chopsticks by luck in the original? Oh, right, that's not fucking important. Let's not do that. Yeah, it fucking is. That was important in the original because that's how Daniel learned luck. Like, Miyagi wasn't really able to do it quick, but Daniel, like, with luck, like, eventually learned luck by actually having patience and was able to catch the fly with the chopsticks. That's how he learned luck. So it actually is important to the original film. This film version doesn't seem to think that. Like, heck, they don't just copy elements from KK1, they copy elements from KK2 as well. Like, the love story is not just a mixture of both Daniel and Allie, it's a mixture of Daniel and Kimiko from the second film. And the dialogue and script don't even help either, like, because there's little chemistry between the key leads. And part of the problem is that these were kids, like, as just them trying to be older teenagers here and just trying to play that in here. Whereas in the original film, they were all high schoolers. And of course, the martial arts in this film is kind of far higher, but really that's also an issue. Like, there's times when the kung fu gets excessive and over the top at points, to the points where some of the discount Cobra Kai students almost just make it come off as murder. Almost near murder. Almost like near injure and murder. Like, Cobra Kai is not really a great class either, but even their karate was not this over the top. So after Dre loses his friendship with Mayeen or whatever. He finds that Han is drunk and depressed and was smashing his car. Apparently, like, yeah, he has this car. He never uses it. And we find out his story that he had crashed it years ago and his wife and 10-year-old son all died. And so he would fix the car for a year, then destroy it again on every anniversary of the accident. Right there. And they try to make this a sad scene, but you don't have much connection with these characters, so it's really hard to get emotional over this. Like, with Miyagi, like the story of Miyagi and his wife, or Miyagi's father in the second film, like, yeah, like those you could get emotional with. Like, Miyagi was a well-developed character, and when you find out more of his past, you actually feel more sympathy for him. Because they actually developed him. So, Dre resolves to train harder, and so he helps Han overcome his trauma, and so Han even helps Dre write and recite an apology in Mandarin to Main's father for having her play hooky. Main's father accepts Dre's apology just after that, really. After, because Dre read an apology letter in Mandarin, just accepts Dre's apology, and lets Mayin accept Dre's tournament, attend Dre's tournament. So, now we get to the tournaments where Dre's unconfident at first, but he's able to start defeating his opponents, but enraged discount John Kreese, repeating this in the original again. He orders pretty much this student Liang, who might as well be the discount sympathetic member of Johnny's Croonies, to injure Dre in the semifinals. He doesn't even remember the original when that version of him said, "But I can't do that, I'll be disqualified." Like, Liang doesn't really say anything. Maybe he does seem reluctant, but he doesn't really say anything here, and he does so, and same as the original, he does crippling blows to Dre's leg, and he gets disqualified. But Dre advances to the finals against Chen because of that. And Dre pleads with Han to heal his leg with the fire-keeping method, and of course Han complies because he finds out it's more about overcoming Dre's fear than anything else. And so if training Kung Fu like earlier by picking up Jacket is not just ridiculous enough, how about instead of our Halloween little alley fight with our alleyway fight scene that led to seeing how Miyagi actually was a karate master, this time around you find that out in this whole street backway scene that somehow nobody seems to notice because this takes place in the daytime. And our arena this time, like our Kung Fu arena, is pretty much this whole, looks like a gambling arena too, where unlike the karate arena in the original that looked like a karate arena. My other favorite, especially how they do one of my favorite moments in the original, like with the whole jacket thing. That's just a lazy ripoff of one of the best moments in the original film with Daniel's waxing and painting labors. They actually came to pay off, and that scene in Miyagi's backyard. The whole pickup coat routine is just stupid. It's not funny. It does not feel like training at all. It was just them trying to recreate that moment, except make it lazy as possible. And Daniel's crane kick in the finale of the original, that was much more satisfying than Dre's stupid little Cobra nonsense. Yeah, so I get it. Remakes are a risky proposition. You get too close to the original, then it'll be unnecessary. But the thing is, if you're gonna falsely title it something to try to make money, then you might as well not only just be a remake, but you might as well just be a lazy misled title version. So anyway, we get on with the finale where the final match starts and Dre is able to come back and Lee orders Chen to attack Dre's injured leg and Dre loses balance, but like the original, he manages to get up and uses a snake stance he saw at the temple where they're just making a lame version of Daniel's balance stance that defeated Johnny in the original, and that was more epic. That was more exciting when that happened. And Dre defeats Chen with a kick to the head, and earns the respect of Chen and his classmates because they even repeat the shot in the original movie where Chen gives the trophy to Dre. That's literally, in the original, Johnny gave the first place trophy to Daniel. Same shot. So, yeah, and the fighting students then bow down to Han, and of course, Han becomes their new master. Whatever. The end. It's over. It's just the same free shot as the original again. But I guess this time around it's not as abrupt as the original movie's ending. Maybe. I guess there's that. But that doesn't automatically mean this is somehow better. But that's how the the Karate Kid 2010 ends. Lee defeats Bully in Final Fight Tournament, same as the original. Bully gets winner trophy, final under disrespect, same as the original. Discount Cobra Kai functions and bows to Han as their new instructor. Well, technically, Cobra Kai didn't really dysfunction until the beginning of the second movie, so I guess they combine those elements into this whole ending. But whatever, ending the original extended part 2 was much more satisfying than this was. Now, would I have any good qualities with the film? Now, one thing I did like, I guess, was the scene when the whole discount Cobra Kai at the end, they do immediately bow to Han at the end. Like, I guess I do kind of wish the Cobra Kai students all bow, in the beginning of part 2, did bow to Miyagi, and Miyagi did become their new instructor and actually got rid of the Cobra Kai name, but well, I guess there was one thing that this movie did, and Jackie Chan, despite the not great character development his character really gets in the film, I guess he does give one decent performance of the movie, but that's about it. Because while it's an improvement over 3 and 4, it's really just a boring, lifeless remake that's just called Karate Kid so they can make money. So in the end, I would just avoid the the Karate Kid 2010, and just go rewatch the original movie if you want to see the actually good version of this movie, where it was actually about karate, and had good character development, and good direction. Anyways, that's it for my rant on the the Karate Kid 2010. If you're wondering how I'm going to rank the Karate Kid 2010, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you love the original or are expecting a modern version of that, yeah, just don't bother. Just stick with the original film because that is done better than this wannabe even remotely is. If you're wondering how I'm going to rank the Kung Fu Kid, I'm going to give the Kung Fu Kid a 4 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. That wraps up my rant on the Kung Fu Kid. Wait, did I just call it the Kung Fu Kid again in my overall part? And here again, well, whatever. It's called the Kung Fu Kid. I'm done correcting. I am not calling this the Karate Kid, okay? Because it's not about karate. So whatever. I give up. It's called the Kung Fu Kid. End of story. But yeah, now I want to know in the comments down below what you guys think about the Kung Fu Kid. And until then, that'll be it for this rant. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.